So it's just sprinkling. Got a drizzle sprinkle still going on, and figured I'd make a video. And I was thinking, I was watching Extreme Dream Makeovers competition, and I remember watching these really elder people being a part of the Extreme Dream Makeovers competition, and you know, part of the family. He's like, you know, 60 years old or late 50s, and you try to act surprised and be like, well, how many years I got left? You know, I'm almost dead already. Thanks for giving me a house for me to just remember what I could have had when I was younger. You know, but to think that even when you have a big home, which I've already known this, you know, thought this out pretty well. You know, your 50s and 60s, having your own home isn't so extravagant. You know, you want that when you're young. You want that when you're married. You want that to start your future, to live and have that. But, you know, you're 50, 60 years old, not preoccupied to buying a fancy house anymore. Those things don't even matter anymore. Because not only you don't have your looks, but you're not going to be remaining on Earth, and you're trying to fix up that equity so if there is an afterlife, that you're going to be going to a good place. And whatever, sorting out excuses to whatever that is, to each person. But it is make me think to myself, you know, I'm 41 years old. I mean, it's nice to have that, but it is very much a young thing. Especially since I've already had cancer before, you know, I'm like extremely high likely not to live past 60. But I remember watching that TV show, and you see some of these old folks, and you gotta act thrilled. You have to act thrilled, but the truth is you really don't even have that much time left, and they know that, and you can see, not, wouldn't say maybe necessarily bitter, just the reality. You're sort of now just doing the excitement for someone else, because, you know, you spend most of your time suffering in the reality of the world that most of us don't want to live throughout most of our lives. You know, either want to win the lottery or get really rich, you know, or somehow get lucky, marry someone that has a lot of money or something like that. But as far as it goes with, you know, those types of circumstances, is, you know, you spend most of your life in hard labor, 8 hours a day, which to me, I know it sounds crazy, it wouldn't bother me. You know, it's maybe because I had already cancer before, and that may be why, but it just wouldn't, it doesn't, you know, maybe also because I traveled, but even before I traveled, I wouldn't care. You can see the expression on people's faces, you know, and it's a nice thing. I'm not trying to take away. I think that's just always a beautiful thing, you know, to do that. Come up with architectural designs of gardens and houses. It seems like very beautiful to do. You know, contribute to someone else's life, or you plant these seeds, as you can know that seed is going to be flourishing for many years and sprouting to that family, you know, building them homes and whatnot. But I'm going to head over here and start walking over to this restaurant. The drizzle is kind of lighting up a little bit. It's beautiful. You can smell the water. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Foresty green, kind of gives this sort of Amazonian, you know, feel, the jungles of the natural world that we are very unaware of. The spirits of the plants, if that's what you want to call them. I don't really believe they have necessarily spirits, but life for sure. They give life, as we give life to them, what we breathe. But yeah, it makes you kind of feel to go to like the Brazil or to the Amazons. You know, one of the things I think about is, you know, to some people, I mean, for me having a labor, if I was a janitor, or I was doing probably going to printing, I'd be doing that for the rest of my life. I could, 8 hours a day. I wouldn't. I know, you know, sometimes I think of that whenever I'm traveling and I see other people have full-time jobs, and I'm thinking to myself, most of them, a lot of them, most of them are going to be working full-time jobs for the rest of their life. And it's not like to say that I won't, whatever career that is. I mean, even though I'm on disability insurance, you know, my time is very scarce, and what I gave up for that was they couldn't pay me back. They couldn't pay me back. You couldn't. So that's how I feel a little bit better. If I was all healthy, full blown, and I was just fully functioning, and I just, you know, saw people randomly, and I was traveling like this, then, you know, I wouldn't feel guilt. Then I would feel a lot more guilty, or not guilty, but empathetic of, you know, and more grateful for the position that I am to be. The reality of the world that I'm living in isn't the one where, you know, you focus on bills, you got 8 hours a day, you have to focus with your boss's shit, you know, you can't afford this, you can't afford that, but, you know, all those types of things and family things got cut off from me from so long ago. Like, I can't have children, you know, I have to have a lot of money for that, you know, and life expectancy, and if I have a disabled child, all these things were cut off so early in life for me. I mean, right at when I was 23 years old in my prime, I was done. And then I gave a lot of hospital money for insurance, and they couldn't pay me back. You know, they couldn't pay me what I gave. What I gave, signing the paperwork and whatnot, what I did for my dad. They took my house as well, but my future, that even if my dad wanted to give me something so that I could work later in life for it, I couldn't anymore. I had to pay rent. But it's beautiful. I love this sort of rain. It adds like spiritual feeling, life. The sprinkles of water, and there's so much sort of jungle territory, these forests and aquatic, you know, waters and greenery, that all different types of life and greenery and plants, a great mixture, trails, you know, it's very beautiful. And you have to have these types of things, even though there's so much suffering, that these places does exist here while we're on Earth. You know, that these beautiful things can be experienced here. How horrific it is for many that don't get to experience it, and just the brutal circumstances of life. It is great to have it. It's just like there's lots of people that I, you know, see on TV all the time, just travel around the world in bikinis and these hot girls, and, you know, and just caviar everything. But yeah, it's you know, think about all this flourish and feeding to the plants, and so much of that doesn't go to humans. You know, because God, I don't believe in most religions is going to say, thank you for feeding the plants and flowers and everything, because really what you did is, like, people were starving on the other side of the world, you just didn't want to shed out $10. And now you want to enter my kingdom? No, I don't think so. You get 6 months of hell. No. You know, but I think that, you know, there's a lot of that. Watching documentaries, you have all these, you know, people starving, and very poor, and, you know, they don't, for them to be able to walk into a place like this, like see all these beautiful trees, you know, like, you know, you've got somebody from, you know, China, you know, yeah, China, I know Japan has some more forest flowers and stuff like that. China, there's a lot of suffering, you know, Russia, Africa, you know, people from India. You go to people like that are in India, some of the poorest areas in the world, and you walk into a place like this, and it's just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe a place like this existed. they're so far away from this kind of stuff. But it's a good memorial. There's a lot of we got a lot of tombstones honoring this and that, which is really great. I'm not sure exactly how they decide who gets a name, plaque, and whatnot. I think it's a little mixture of everything. Something that maybe someone still may be alive, but honoring maybe donations or something they did, or a tree, you know. And when I see that, I think to myself, wow, it was very special and lucky to have that. But my sister doesn't even have a tombstone that I know where where she's buried, and none of that. There's no flowers. There's no. When I take a look at what this behavior is, this behavior shows an intense amount of sort of this individual, and it may be some of it racist, who knows, but they're honoring the human life that was once alive, that when they were alive was probably much more better than so many other people. Obviously this is a botanic garden, and you see sort of these plaques and these efforts, and I think to my sister who had Down syndrome, and what death and casualty that gave and caused, and who that really went to, I don't know where she's buried. I don't know what happened to her life. I don't, and it's very sad. It affects me more than anyone else. I think in many different ways, because I'm biologically related, and she lived next door to me, and I was just there. So, but it's very sad. You see someone get honored like that. My sister's, I hate to say it, but she was thrown like trash. It was just like, put them in a bag and, put it in a bag and get rid of it, your time's up. It was just like that. And that's the nature of life. People are in prison dying like that too. I really wish that it would have gone to anyone else. If my immediate family, specifically my biological mother, Frankie and Julie and me, were just the inheritors, and my biological father and Michaela, that would have been respectable. For anyone else to have gotten that, that's not what I would have wanted. And that's exactly what happened. Conversations, master of intelligence, the magic words. But I think of that. I think when I see these beautiful places, to honor someone that was once alive, and wear this princess crown. It was just like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel very much that she was thrown away like trash. That's how it was. It bothers me because there's not cameras in the house, enough cameras inside or out to explain what that experience was like. Like, she was just disposed of. I don't want the trash, I'm just going to use it. And I can understand the sickness and health and everything, but it was very much like that. All I do is I do pray and wish that whatever happens is that I do hope that I'm buried next to her. I'm buried next to her life, or wherever she's buried, her casket, her crematory, wherever she is, I'm going to be buried next to her. Not forgotten. But it's a beautiful place, life, the circle of life. It does give a sense of circle of life. The cycle from there's a beginning and then there's an end to everything. And goes full circle. It does. As you see the trees shed off leaves and new ones come in and cherish the abundance of the environment. Give rebirth to life, the cycle of life, the creation, God's creation. This is God's creation. These beautiful trees, and this is God's creation. I have also more to talk about the guy that was the astronauts that showed up. It was Michaela, 100% sure he stood in front of me, and it's what prevented me from walking any further for a moment. I know it sounds wild, but I'll be able to explain. I want to make drawings of it, and Michaela should be able to remember that one for sure. And I'll explain some more in my video about there was a spiritual thing that Miss Heather and Miss Gillard experienced because they were watching me. They knew that I had no idea that this is my sister, so they were watching my behavior. Like if two relatives don't know they're related to each other and they look at each other, how is the entanglement of that? Just like the supernatural phenomenon of twins, or the sort of the genetics that sort of you feel. And I talked about this before. When I saw my sister, I really didn't think that was my sister. I mean, I knew that this girl looked like me, but there wasn't an indication of feeling that this is my sister. This is absolutely my sister. There wasn't. It was just sort of, I felt compassion toward, just like anybody else. So that's very heartbreaking and very sad, because I felt that with Michaela, but we all make up stories, fantasies and stuff like that, but what does that say about consciousness and awareness? Does my sister have a soul? Is she fully healthy? I mean, there's so many. It's very easy to go down that route. Beautiful, she's with God now, Jesus is protecting her, God gave her rebirth, and she's healthy now. She was just showing us what benefits of our learning experience is supposed to be in order to teach us things while we were alive. And some people are born to make bigger impacts than others in different departments of life. It's easy to go down that route, but I did a lot of studying in near-death experience. I mean, that's all I did. It was like ghost stories, ghost hunting, dynamic experiences that people talked about, near-death experiences of every category, from top to bottom, to children, different ethnicities, religions, to doctors, and to atheists, to my own experiences, and how that's related to, well, the consciousness, right? The piece of awareness that remains. But that's a phenomenon, phenomenon that I remember looking into my sister's eyes. Didn't know she was my sister. I just recognize as compassion as anyone else was, it's a tragedy. It's, to show compassion and respect, nice, respect, to give her the dignity. But she was very sick. I mean, the way that she walked was horrifically, very disfigured. She walked very disfigured, very disfigured. But I'm gonna go get something to eat, and not forgotten, whatever little bit that was. Beautiful day, it's raining. I feel the moisture in the air. Kind of makes me feel like kind of Louisiana. Louisiana has some really good spicy food, but Louisiana has a lot of the moisture with the swamps and stuff like that. We get a lot of rain. I think Joe Frebielli, I don't know how to pronounce his name, he's out in Portland, Oregon. I think he's from Louisiana originally. But I gotta give me something to eat. Enjoy this weather with a meal.